Hey everyone, my name is Hamza. I'm the author of The Job Seeker and the Coach. It's a complete job search guide narrated as a suspenseful story. And the reason I'm doing this video is that, well, I see too many people complaining actually. Social distancing right now is giving people an opportunity that they might not have again for a very, very long time. When people go to work, they spend time in their car, or in the transports, in the tube, buses, etc., etc. They get stuck in traffic. When they get to work, they get interrupted by colleagues. They get to do meetings that are not necessarily useful. They waste tons of time. By the time they come back from work, they sometimes don't see their children. They, don't necessarily sleep early, or they don't feel like they have a life. Social distancing has been able to remove so much of this, and so much so that today people have more time. Now, I hope that everyone is working really hard at home. That's of course expected, and that's the right thing to do, because if the company doesn't do well, then it might let people go. And it's very, very important that you give your 100% in your job and always offer to help. I have other videos about this, and of course, feel free to go to my YouTube channel, Name Your Career, okay? But what this situation offers, this social distancing or maybe lockdown situation, offers time that normally we wouldn't have had. And that's a fact. And I hope that everyone is safe, of course, but if you are safe, think about all the projects, all the things that you always wanted to do, but always give yourself the excuse of lack of time. Today, I think that this is a unique opportunity to rekindle these projects, to reconnect with what you always wanted to do. And some people always wanted to set up a company, learn online marketing, e-commerce, write a book, read books, learn to do the piano, do videos, social media. People are dreamers. We always have our mind that explores what can be. And you probably have projects like these that unfortunately life hasn't allowed you to implement just yet. But today is a different day right now. Right now, the world is locked down and people are asked to stay at home. And what I would hate to see is that people just stay at home and watch the news, the depressing news, exchange text messages, sometimes with jokes or sometimes with scary stories, and waste this amazing opportunity to go back to their life the way it was, and they haven't actually done anything. Now, when you do that, you would be actually challenged by a couple of things. Number one, procrastination. Procrastination is going to come in, and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to write my book. I'm going to set up my company. I'm going to start doing some exercise. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And procrastination is going to come in. So in the beginning, you'll get your way. So for the next 2-3 days, 4 days maybe, it will be okay. After the fact that it's new is over, it's no longer new, motivation fades away. That's just the reality. Everything that is new, when you get to know someone new, it's the first time you meet him or her, what happens is that you're excited more than usual, okay? And when things are no longer new, we don't get as excited, as motivated. So think about the time you started working, or the time you started, you started in your current company. The first few days, you were super excited, super motivated, hopefully. But after that, routine sets in, and we get into, a lower energy mode. So that's the second thing, because procrastination is going to come in at that point, okay? So procrastination is going to come in, that's the first thing. And the second thing I'm going to tell you, give you the solution, okay? But procrastination is going to come in, and the same old thing's going to happen. So you're going to start reading a book, and then you won't finish it. You're going to start running or doing some exercise in the morning or whatever, and it's not going to continue. And it's a little bit like you go to the gym and you strengthen things. You lift weights, for example. So you strengthen your muscle, but when you don't do weights for 1 week, 2 weeks, then these muscles go back to their original state. So in other words, you don't progress. And it's exactly the same thing. In fact, what differentiates people, successful people and the others, is their routine. Is the fact that they do certain things on a daily basis that accumulated are creating momentum in their life and leaving the others wondering, but is he having fun or is he working? How did he do all this with that much, to do, that many things to do, that many companies or whatever? So my point is that, you can do this if instead of giving yourself an objective of doing 40 minutes, 1 hour of exercise, for example, you say to yourself, okay, how about I do 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, no more. Why am I saying that? This is the second point I wanted to tell you. It's because when you have a big task ahead, when you look at the mountain from the bottom and you say, oh my God, there's so much I need to do. Well, maybe you get to do it 2, 3 days, 4 days, maybe 1 week, and then procrastination comes in and says, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. And so if you start tricking your mind by saying, well, actually, I don't have to run 5 kilometers. I don't have to do half an hour exercise, but I'm just going to dress up and I'm just going to do one exercise. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. Well, I don't have to read the entire book. I'm just going to read 1 page. So this 2-minute trick is not something I invented. I've seen it on YouTube before and I've started implementing it and it works. It works beautifully because the energy, the activation energy to start something is actually much, much, much bigger than the activation, than the energy to continue something. And so what I mean is that when you start cycling, for example, when you ride a bicycle, in the beginning it's very hard and then it becomes easy. When you start running, so if I say, okay, I'm just going to run, wear my running shoes, if you're not on lockdown, of course, if you're allowed to do that, of course, or let me give another example, actually. If you just say, okay, I'm going to read a book, but I don't have time, it takes ages, blah, 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 just read 1 page. Just before going to bed, just read 1 page. That's all. And everyone can do that. You can't procrastinating reading 1 page because it's easy. But what happens is that you realize that it's much easier to turn to the 2nd page, 3rd page, 4th page and carry on than it is to say to yourself, oh, I'm going to read 10 pages or 50 pages. So you need to reduce, the things to do in very, very small, easy, super easy tasks. And that's what I mean. And so if you want to set up a company, a business and create a secondary income during this, lockdown or social distancing where you have to stay at home, well, you have time. But if you say to yourself, oh my God, where do I start? I don't know this. No, wait, take it 1 step at a time. It's just say to yourself, I'm just going to spend 2 minutes researching. That's all. I'm just going to spend 2 minutes writing, just no more than 2 minutes starting the business plan. I'm just going to do 2-minute conversation with this guy because he knows about this type of businesses. I'm just going to do 2 minutes. And it's a 2-minute thing that turns into much more. It's a 2-minute thing that makes you, well, I'm in the water now. It's a little bit like you trick your mind to say, well, I'm just going to dip in the pool, for example, for 2 minutes. But after 2 minutes, you're in the water. So you tend to carry on, you tend to pursue, you tend to do, extra exercises, you tend to read more pages, you tend to study more, you tend to research more, you tend to move forward. What matters is that you do this every day. Why? Because remember, when you go to the gym and you lift weight, if you just do it sometimes, the muscle doesn't have time to build up. You need to do something every day. Remember, successful people are all about routine, daily routine. Another thing that I want to share with you is the fact that in order to become a routine, it needs to become a habit. And what do I mean by that? A habit is an action that is no longer questioned by the mind. You see, if I get to do something new, or if I have the impulse, the idea to do something new, my mind is going to say, well, hang on a minute. How dangerous is this? Are you sure? And it's going to ask a lot of questions. That's his job. But we all have a lot of things that we do out of habit where the mind is no longer, requested. The mind is no longer required. And that is these habits that you want to include in your life. Unfortunately, we are so much on autopilot with these habits, sometimes not necessarily the right habits, that we end up after 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years thinking, oh my God, why is this guy so successful and why am I not so successful? So my point is that in order to become a habit, a daily routine, in order to reach a point where you no longer get it through the brain to help you decide whether you're going to do it or not, you need to do it so many times in a row that the brain no longer intervenes. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, you probably get to do most of what you do out of, completely on autopilot. Your brain is not involved at all. In fact, you get to think about other things. Take driving, for example. If you've been driving for a while, your brain is not actually driving. Your brain is thinking about all sorts of things. Maybe you're listening to the music, you're having a conversation at the same time. Your brain is busy doing that. But the habit is taking a different part of your mind, okay, a different part of your brain. It's completely unconscious. You know what to do because you've done it so many times. So what I'm trying to say is that when you do things, the great things in life that allow you to move forward, that allow you to achieve your projects, that allow you to progress. Progress is motivation. You will fuel your projects with motivation, because when you do it every day, you build muscle, you become a different person, you strengthen, you change, and that's necessary if you want to be at a different level. That's so necessary. So in other words, whatever you want to do, just try and reduce it to a 2-minute thing. Oh, I'm just gonna, wear my shoes and do this, or I'm just going to get changed and do this. I'm just going to write one sentence. I want to write a book. I'm just going to write one sentence. In order to write this book, believe it or not, it took me 3 years, and I suffered a lot. I have 2 kids, 2 companies, and it's been really difficult. But I took it this way. I'm just going to write one sentence. Some days I wrote much more. Some other days, I wrote 2 sentences. But what happens is that this habit, this became a habit at some point, and I was no longer questioning whether I should or should not. That's the question. That's the difference. And at some point, I was writing because, that's what I've been doing for the past 6 months. It was part of my routine. You can include those successful routines now that you have more time. You can start them. Just make sure you always put yourself in a situation where, I'm just going to do this 2-minute thing. I'm just going to get dressed. I'm just going to sit in front of the piano for 2 minutes. I'm just going to do something super easy. And that's the difference. That's really the difference. The difference is when you get to do this. Some days are good, some days are not good. Some days you'll feel like it, some days you won't feel like it. But the activation energy is much bigger than the energy to continue. Imagine a rocket, imagine a plane. In order to take off, it consumes most of its energy. And the brain somehow believes that this is the amount of energy that's going to be needed throughout the exercise, throughout whatever we're doing. It's not. The activation energy, reduce it to 2 minutes so that you get to do it every day. Once you do it every day, it's a routine, it's a habit, and you're going to reach momentum. At some point, your brain is no longer going to be required to think about whether you should do it or not, to procrastinate or not. So this is how we can make the best of use when it comes to social distancing and sort of staying at home, because we do have more time. There's so much time wasted out there when we are back to normal with, you know, the traffic and the car and the parking and the meeting, the useless meeting, the interruptions, the phone calls and the meetings that shouldn't be. And all this is a massive, massive amount of time that you now have back in your life. Please don't, go through this social distancing or stay at home by just being miserable and hoping that your life goes back to normal now. You have an amazing opportunity that might not ever happen again. I hope you'll make the best of it. Same with me, by the way. If you always wanted to improve your chances to find work drastically, massively, to know how to negotiate your salary, how to prepare for job interviews, to rewrite your CV, hey, I'm offering the first 3 chapters for free. Even if you download the first 3 chapters for free, just go to thejobseekerandthecoach.com, by the way. Even if you do that, just read 1 page. See if you connect with the book. Just read 1 chapter. See if you connect with the book. That, my friend, is 2 minutes. It's just 2 minutes. It doesn't take you long at all. So I hope it makes sense. Thanks a lot. If you share, that would mean the world to me, because other people get to know about this advice and I get to reach out more people. So thank you so much if you share. That would be amazing. And that's pretty much it. I wish you the best. Use this time in a smart way. You can come out stronger with a degree, with a certification, with things that you've never had time to do. Just make sure you get into the habit of starting. That's all it takes. If you start every day, I promise you, some days are going to be breakthrough. Some days are going to be amazing. And you're going to reach a habit, a routine that only successful people know. Okay? Thank you very much. My name is Hamza Zawali. I'm a career coach. I'm a business coach. And I work for nameyourcareer.com. Don't forget to download my book if you're interested. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot again. Bye-bye.